Hey guys, welcome back to Economics and Comics. So, we had an opportunity to go see Overlord. This is Joel and Mike Massie from GoneWithTheTwins.com. You can see it right here. Again, I've been fortunate enough for them to be taking me to the movies with them.
Well, thank you again for inviting us to participate in your podcast.
Yeah, we're kind of bouncing off each other. Go to their site, check it out, check out the reviews. It's great stuff.
Yeah. And we're getting a extra early review for this movie.
Yeah, we got a special permission to do this early. So, I'm going to go ahead and let them go for it, and then I'll jump in, because listening to them is very interesting.
So, this movie, Overlord, is basically, and anybody who's seen the trailer, you kind of get a zombie flavor. So, it's really not a spoiler. It is kind of a World War II zombie film. However, what's really fascinating right from the start is that you very much get a vibe of like Saving Private Ryan. So this isn't the storming of Normandy Beach, but what we do get is the planes flying in, and so you get a very different angle of D-Day, which I found fascinating, right? And
I did too.
It's almost a shame that eventually it deviates into zombie stuff, because this
starts as a strong
this
war
opening
picture
scene is very tense. It's very exciting, and again to mention Saving Private Ryan, they even play with some of the techniques that they did in that film, such as cutting out the sound and doing a little bit of slow motion and things like that. So
it's probably not until about 30 minutes in before they actually give you hints that it's going to be more than just
there's
a
a little
picture.
bit of foreshadowing, but it's the first maybe 35-40 minutes is straight World War II action kind of a film, and it's very well done. It's shot well. You can't tell when the CG stops and green screen and that kind of thing. It's a very exciting opening sequence, and even the
100% agree.
Yeah, the opening titles itself is kind of a throwback to 50s
Old
sort of
movie,
war movies.
exactly.
It's clever, and so
almost a bit too creative for what
the
movie ends up being.
So what we have here kind of is two different movies. You get this really solid action war movie, and then you also get a horror zombie film, and so they by the second, third act, you kind of they get combined a little.
I mean, they give you some foreshadowing pretty early on if you didn't know what it was about, but essentially the group of airborne troopers have to go in, and they're trying to blow up a radio tower in a little French village that's been overtaken by
this is
Nazis.
so that the U.S. can have air support on the beach for D-Day.
But once they get there, the radio tower, there's some fishy things going on there.
Yeah, and there's
they have to go
there's a Nazi lab underneath where they're doing experiments. Which again, a lot of these things are common World War II themes. Yeah. It's just that once we finally get into the full blown sort of
what's interesting too is that the concept is something we've seen as a plot in like 50 different video games, but in the film world, not so much.
When you cross over into the medium of film, you don't really see so many war-oriented zombie movies, and maybe
so it feels a little fresher than perhaps it should, simply because we don't see this on film as much.
And the costuming and the sets, the locations that they have there, it's very well done.
Also, the cast, I really like the cast. It's actually pretty much all no-name people. Nobody's very famous in this movie at all.
Yes, and they're all very convincing. So that's one of its strongest points, because when you're not distracted, you don't when you see. This film reminded me a little bit of Fury, which came out a few years ago, and when you see people like Brad Pitt, they're so recognizable.
It takes you out sometimes.
It starts to take you away from immersing yourself in that World War II situation. So here, because you don't recognize anybody, nobody's really big name except maybe Bokeem Woodbine, who almost just a cameo role. You get
spoiler.
There's like an authenticity here with this cast. So and they did a great job, and I really enjoyed that. And I think what happens is, about halfway through the film, you sort of get a little bit of shift, and we kind of, digress into a zombie movie, and it's entertaining too. But I almost wonder how great this film could have been if it was just a straight World War II.
Yeah, I think the concept of half horror, half action. My initial reaction when I left the theater was, I kind of like that it feels a little fresh, because it's a good mix of the two.
Fresh.
However, the more I sit with this film, I kind of feel like perhaps it would have been a more solid film if it was all horror or all action, because splitting your time between the two kind of softens both aspects. So had it been just straight horror, it could have been horrifying all the way through. If it was straight action all the way through, it might have been like a really
and what's interesting about the first part of it is that you definitely get the horrors of war feel. So it's already naturally a horror movie, because it's war, and this film goes a little bit overboard with the gruesomeness, which
You're
again,
talking about the opening scene.
well, there's a lot of violence in the film. There's
It's
a
a
lot
little.
of,
It actually kind of holds back a little. I think in the first 30-40 minutes, the violence is there, but they shy away a little bit from showing you really graphic stuff because I think hopefully the filmmakers were aware enough to if we hold back now, we can show more gruesome
I
stuff
feel
later
like they
and
could
it
have
hits you
gone
harder.
farther. The
Yeah,
whole movie, they could have.
Yeah,
gone a
yeah.
whole-
well,
that's true,
I
yeah.
mentioned Fury,
Not that I wanted
not
to.
only because it's a World War II movie as
Bloodthirsty.
well, yeah. But there's a scene in Fury very early on where they're cleaning up a tank after a battle, and there's like a guy's face that they pick up off of, and have to throw it away. That's just an absolutely revolting, disgusting moment, which is too much in a movie like Fury. This movie, though, it's a little bit more fitting to have that kind of violence because again, we get into the zombie stuff later on.
Well, you guys keep saying zombie.
Yeah,
They were wise, and obviously the film never uses that word.
I actually, when talking about this with Joel on the ride over here, I likened it a little bit more to Reanimator.
Dang it! I was
did you
waiting for
say-
you to stop
Well, you
talking.
got-
I was waiting for you guys to stop going back.
I kept talking.
Get
so
a
that
close.
you-
Yeah, that's not good. I
kept
have
talking
three
so that,
movies,
so that
and
I
that
could
was the first one. That's the
beat you
first
to
thing
it.
I.
Yeah. Well, and what Reanimator does so well is it takes the zombie vibe and it tries to make a reasoning behind it. They're experimenting with
Life after
a
death.
reanimation serum. Yeah. And this one, has some of that same flavor to it. So
Oh, definitely.
but again, it doesn't. That has no bearing on whether you define this as zombies. This is just a different type of zombie. And there's a lot of there's a wide range of what constitutes a zombie film, and this one definitely. When you've got reanimated,
It's hard
dead.
not to just immediately think Nazi zombies.
Well, I crossed it. This is the three movies that I think it's all in one. The first one's Reanimator. The second one is not a movie. It's Call of Duty Zombies. It's very simple, even though we won't go there. But the third one is that Robert Rodriguez film, Planet Terror.
Oh yeah, sure.
I feel like all three are mixed in together. I almost relate more to Planet Terror than anything, with some little Reanimator here and there. But
This movie is mostly serious, though. There are, there's a comedy relief character who pretty much is spouting jokes throughout the movie.
Yeah.
But something like Planet Terror is very, tongue-in-cheek, cheesy, kind of. So it's not scary. This movie actually has a few good thrills in it, a few good horror moments, jump scares, and things like that.
yeah,
So,
there's definitely a couple jump
it's,
scares.
It's
but-
never I didn't find it very cheesy at all throughout. I
Yeah,
felt
I
like
think
everyone takes it very seriously, and
that's a
wise.
testament to the actors too, is that you believe their plight and you're not laughing at them, and there's not a whole lot of opportunities to laugh with them.
Yeah.
But
Well, it's wise too to have a comedy relief character, so that's
Yeah.
where the laughs go, to where you're not.
I think they
laughing
also
at
did
other
a
places.
really good job with the action. Some of the action scenes are just absolutely
A lot of interesting camera work
Stunning.
too during
Yeah.
the action
No,
sequences.
J.J.ABRAMS, he only produced. You don't think he had any little finger in all that? Because I feel like I felt him in the movie a lot.
Yeah, he might. So it was weird. As kind of a preface to the film, there's actually a clip of J.J. Abrams coming on saying, "Hey, I'm J.J. Abrams. Thanks for watching this movie."
3 seconds.
Absolutely extraneous. I have no idea why it's
Bizarre.
in there. But perhaps it's really just a marketing gimmick to say, look, J.J. Abrams, the guy who directed Star Wars.
Well, he's a pop culture icon,
Yeah.
sort of, right? So
He's got his fingers in there.
yeah. So if
in
he
the
comes
pie.
on there and says, "Hey, look, guys, I was involved in this movie somehow," people are gonna be like, "Oh my god, I'm so excited!"
Yeah.
So-
But I think it had no bearing on it because this doesn't
Yeah.
necessarily feel like a J.J. Abrams type of film. But I thought it was a lot of fun. Again, there are kind of two films in here. You definitely get an action war movie and you get a kind of a zombie horror film. But for the most part, they've combined those well, and both of them are well executed. I had a lot of fun with the action scenes and a lot of fun with the zombie stuff. And there's some jump scares and things, but this is not an overly horrifying film. Perhaps more than anything else, it's just gruesome. There's some graphic violence there, and
I feel like they could have gone even more, though, especially toward the conclusion of the film. They had an opportunity to go more action, more violence, more over the top, maybe. But it's almost
It
like
slowed down.
It did slow down. The pacing maybe slowed down just
And
a
we
touch.
got comfortable with
Yeah.
the evil or whatever.
It's
like,
it's
oh, okay.
essentially it's pretty nonstop as far as the intensity goes.
No, yeah. I
But
get
toward
it.
the end, it does kind of slow down. You don't feel the
Well, that
danger
first
maybe
10
as much.
minutes got me ready.
yeah.
And then
Yeah,
it was all downhill.
it's-
That's kind of
Ooh, harsh critic.
No, I mean, I love it because it was different. It felt different. You expect, it's just another thing. It's just another one in the comic world. I'm not trying to overgo, but in the comic world, a new thing is now apocalypse and magic. All these new books coming out is apocalypse, zombie, magic. So when I went into this movie, I'm thinking, okay, Call of Duty, zombies, and I'm thinking, whatever, supernatural or whatever. But it did not end up like that for me.
Yeah.
I didn't feel that way.
Another very common theme in modern zombie films is this idea that the people are worse than the zombies. The monster in any monster movie, essentially, especially modern ones, the people are sometimes worse than the monsters.
Yeah, you have normal human antagonists.
Yeah.
As well as the monster.
Yeah, but this movie, I mean, it toes that line a little bit, but I appreciate that there are good guys and clear-cut good guys throughout the movie, and so you really have somebody to root for, and I think that really helps with this kind of movie.
It is the whole war is
at least
war
not
is hell.
I mean, there's so many movies that every character is an anti-hero, or we've seen so many modern action movies where the main characters are so annoying and so mean-spirited and violent that you can't get behind them, and then it really ruins the feel of the film. So, but at least this one, I mean, especially, I guess, Nazis in there, they're good guys and bad guys, black and white, as far as that goes. So,
I mean, honestly, I keep thinking about it. I do feel like it's a Call of Duty zombie.
Yeah, it's going to be hard for this film to distance itself from the properties that use this same sort of a gimmick. Yeah. But as far as watching films, I think this is a little bit
maybe one of the.
Well, that's what I got initially when they came into the town.
Yeah.
I was like, oh man, that's what.
Well, so there are some kind of obscure movies like Dead Snow, which is about zombie Nazis, but I think, especially now that we've got J.J. Abrams attached to this, if this is a little bit more mainstream, there is a unique value to that aspect, right? That we don't have, and despite the fact that there's no big budget stars in here, there's an originality to a theatrical release that's not like a straight to video kind of a thing.
It's definitely something a little bit different, and I was excited about it.
That's a testament to this film, is that it feels different, even though when you really dissect it, there's not a lot of originality in there.
I feel like someone was playing a video game from 15 years ago, and they just kind of, and I'm not trying to knock it in any way, because it brought me back to that.
So a little bit of nostalgia.
Yeah, the evil zombie.
Well, what's ironic is that my forte is not really the horror genre. We don't see as many horror films perhaps as regular moviegoers, because studios sometimes don't screen horror films for critics. But the irony here is that with you, the podcasts we've been doing are almost exclusively horror movies. We did Predator
we got some superheroes
and
too.
Halloween and things like that. So yeah, there's kind of like a horror vibe going on. So you probably have seen maybe more horror films than we have. So as far as its effectiveness in the horror genre, did you find this film scary? Did you find it exhilarating?
Well, I don't really get scared anymore.
So you were trembling. You've been desensitized.
And these guys go, I'm like, I'm spilling popcorn everywhere. No, I thought it was interesting. I mean, I enjoyed it. I feel the same way you said. It kind of feel like it slowed down a little bit.
Well,
it
also
wasn't full-on zombie insaneness. It was a good mix
because it's a split
and
of action and horror. I think it detracts from both elements a little bit,
which makes it different.
It does make it different. But then the horror elements aren't quite as scary because the whole the mood of the picture has changed, because it's more of a gung ho action film at that point.
I'm sure there might have been some people in there that were scared.
Yeah,
no, I'm immune. I know
it's effective. the jump scares that they do are effective. I mean, but you can see them coming a mile away. So it's not...
You know what's funny? I know we're running out of time here, but what's funny is the first jump scene in the movie. I knew it was coming. I mean, it's easy to tell, see it coming.
As soon as the sound cuts out, everything gets quiet. It's the calm before the storm.
It still got me, though, and I'm usually ready for it. I don't know why it got me, but it got me once. But, just like a blink, I didn't, jump. But these guys, no.
Jumped out of his seat.
Well, anyway, so overall, what do you guys think?
I had fun with it, which...
I didn't like it quite as much as I think you did, but
I'm really surprised. I would have thought I would have thought you guys would have been kind of even on it, but I'm actually real surprised that Mike is.
I just found the action to be.
It was good.
It was thrilling. It kind of has like an Inglourious Bastard sort of a feel to it in some of the war elements, but also there's some serious, there's a flamethrower scene which I think is in the trailer.
Yeah, there's a bunch
there's some really cool elements that they put in there that make this a little bit more exciting than it probably should have been.
Well, also
I kept wondering what it would have been like if there was none of the zombie stuff. What a cool, because it already has that singular element of its D-Day approach not being the storming of Normandy Beach.
Also,
right?
I feel like they didn't even go that far with the zombie stuff.
That's
I
what
feel
I'm
like
saying.
they could have gone bigger and badder.
But again, like you mentioned, when you try to create a hybrid action horror, you lose a little bit of the action, you lose a little bit of the horror, so that you have them both in there. So it can't address each of those aspects to its fullest.
But that makes it a little more interesting because you don't get that genre as often. That combination of genres. So.
Overall, I thought it was fun. I'd recommend if you want to see something a little bit different.
It is, great special effects, great makeup effects, it's violent, it's gory, action.
I see. I never found a dull moment.
Yeah,
it does slow a little bit, but I was still engaged.
I was engaged.
Anticlimactic, maybe for you.
I mean, I kind of expected what was going to happen. I knew it was going to happen,
so perhaps predictable. But
I'm older than these guys.
entertaining.
10 years, they're going to be like,
well, you might be
same
more
old
seasoned
stuff.
with horror films, so.
Well, anyway, again, if you guys get a chance, please go to GoneWithTheTwins.com. Check out their movie reviews, all types of great little goodies. And we want to thank you so much for tuning in to Economics and Comics, and we'll bring you some more. I promise I will go see a normal movie with you guys. How about that? Just get the most happiest romantic, we'll hold hands, and then you might see emotion. I might cry. I'm not used to it. So thank you so much.
Yes, well, thank you for having us back. We appreciate it.
We'll see you guys next time. Bye.